Everybody, you know what time it is? It is Sipping with Sue time, and I have the pleasure of welcoming wellness coach and fitness pro, Kaylee. Welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yay! Absolutely. So, cheers.
Yes.
TGIF. It's Friday.
Yes.
Cheers to the weekend. Time to let your hair down and be like, okay, let's go ahead and all the workouts and all the things that we did today for gym work, we can go ahead and party off tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about balance. That's exactly what I stand for. So it is.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm so glad to have you on. Can you give us a little bit about yourself so folks can get acquainted with you?
Totally. Yeah. So I am actually currently located in the Monterey Bay area, like Monterey Peninsula in California, kind of top of the Central Coast. I was born and raised in California. I'm from a really small town called Morgan Hill, same kind of area. And I was living here up until college, and then I decided I wanted to actually move out of my house and afford it because the Silicon Valley is not so, easy to do that.
Oh, it's a little it's cheap, right?
Oh yeah, it's so cheap. Casual. So I decided to go and finish my degree for kinesiology and nutrition up in Portland, Oregon. So that's actually where I had started my business. And I decided to just start training while I was finishing my degree. So I just got certified, jumped right in, started working at my first job at LA Fitness. And I figured I wanted to figure out, yeah. I wanted to figure out what like my niche would be. Like, do I even like training people, but I knew that like I wasn't going to do fitness for the rest of my life, I thought. But instead it became like a really good passion for me because I saw that my core values of like really loving to help people gain confidence and more function in their body and better understand their bodies and how it can help like catapult them into better like a lifestyle that was like going to suit them for the long term. Mm-hmm. So then I started my business right as I graduated college at the ripe age of 21. So I got my LLC, did the whole thing, started working at a private training gym, and was able to develop my kind of nutrition side of my coaching as well. So ever since then, I started to develop kind of a wholeness. Like, I don't like saying health coach because it's become kind of a kitschy name for people who are all over the board with their backgrounds, so to speak. You probably have experienced that because there's like Beachbody coaches where they just sign up for Shakeology, and then there's other coaches that like actually go and get degrees, or like, there's different things like that. And so I usually kind of just introduce myself as a wellness coach, but I have a professional fitness background, and for the last almost 10 years now, and multiple certifications in nutrition, just because that's one of my big passions. So
awesome. So you've been helping folks in this wellness and fitness arena for about 10 years?
About a decade. Yeah.
Wow. Yes. Okay. Awesome. So you've got a wealth of knowledge. So when it comes to that, are you specific with who you actually have as customers, or is it just male based? Is it female based, or how is that working?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I honestly wanted to move away from Gen Pop because all my entire life, like owning a business, everybo's advice is niche down. The hardest part for me is I love working with all different people for all different reasons. Like, I have 16-year-old clients, and I currently have an 83-year-old client. And he's a male and she's a female, So I am really passionate about kind of just everybody, where they're from. That's probably to a fault, but I would say I dominantly gravitate towards females, probably in that 20 to 40 age range, because it's a really good time to see how much strength you can build. And they usually don't have as many like injuries or chronic issues yet. And so we're kind of preventing that, which is fun, as well as it's a really great time to better understand nutrition and kind of take a lot of these like lies that we're kind of sold constantly, you know what I mean, away from it. So that's like kind of where it became really a passion for me, is with females, helping them reduce the noise, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I totally agree. So with females, and going back or sticking to that particular thing with the noise, there's so much that we get, and there's always these quick fixes. So how do you separate those from, what's the actual truth that's going to be helpful for a particular client, female client?
Yeah. Okay. So I come at it from a very different approach because I fortunately get to see a lot of sides of things. I didn't mention before, but part of my inception was actually culinary school. It's part of my tattoo.
Oh,
I have
nice.
a whisk and barbell because they're my two passions, but I decided that I didn't want to spend the money on culinary school. And I worked in a Michelin kitchen before I went into fitness, and not the life for me.
Gotcha.
So, but with that, so I like to have this like big love of food and what food does for people culturally, and how we also have been taught all of these like good food, bad food. I mean, like you said, we see it everywhere. And so I kind of like to approach people from, where is your mindset at currently? What is your background? Like, where are you coming from with what you were told, how people treated you? Like, a lot of people's moms were like very insecure about their body and would look in the mirror and be like, ugh, I look so ugly. And then a lot of my clients have adopted that from their mom, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of come at it from like a really holistic, like, what is your foundational, like, what are your values at the moment? Or what are the narratives that keep playing in your head? And then how do we like approach each different thing that the media teaches you and like apply that to like, what is actually more realistic? You're a mom, you have 3 kids, like, let's not do cardio for 2 hours every day, you know? Like trying to bring like their current unique situation into like our approach. Is that kind of?
Yeah, no, that's excellent. So let's go with that. So, what are some common mistakes that we make as women that we can do instead? Because again, a lot of the noise that we hear, oh, you can't lift too heavy, you're going to look like a bodybuilder, you too much cardio, this. I mean, it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So, what are some common mistakes that we make, and what can we do instead?
Totally. And I personally find that to kind of almost be passively a way for us to stay kind of like small and confused. I'm like a big, I'm a big like a supporter of like taking up space, you know, and I have a feeling you are the same way. Like, just own your energy, like be whatever you want to be, you know. And with that is like, so when it kind of comes to the most stereotypical stuff I always see women overdoing cardio, like always, because, and it's not just because that's what you're taught. It's also because it's only what they know. And they're kind of afraid to approach like the weight section, which I totally understand. I've been there before.
Yes.
A lot of my clients, when they started out, especially my younger clients, they're very intimidated by the weightlifting section because there's a bunch of big dudes there and the dudes are always looking at you, you know?
And then slamming weights and not re-racking weights. Don't get me started.
No, I know. We could go on for days about not racking weights. I actually will pick up people's weights they leave and look at them as I put it away. Like,
unless it's 100 pounds. Like I mean, I've done the tap on the shoulder, like, hey, do you want to re-rack that 100 pounds? Like, that's like literally all of my weight.
Yeah, like that's not gonna happen. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't touch those ones usually as much. Yeah, but anyways, yeah. So where I would usually advise people is there's a lot of fantastic resources online. Like, as always, YouTube is a great place to start to get familiarized with like general workout moves to start with. I always say I like my clients to start with band work because it's approachable, but it's hard, you know, like loop bands, things that you'll see in PT, but you can definitely build muscle and strength at that. And then start working with dumbbells, like kettlebells. Don't go straight into only machines. Like, that's all other things I always see. That's another mistake I see, is people just go with the machines and they kind of read that little like thing on there. And then they're like, I guess I'll do that for a second, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not the worst thing, but machines were developed for rehab, and then they brought them into the gym space because they are safe, relatively. They are locked positions and they isolate muscles. So I like to tell a lot of people, like, you could do those, but they're not going to work your body as like a full body motion would, like a full body squat with a kettlebell or something like that, you know? So kind of getting familiar with like practicing. And I guess there's you had asked me before about some of the fads. So I don't want to get ahead of that, but more in the sense that like, I guess there's a popular thing called the shy girl workout, where they're like just finding stuff to do in a corner in the gym, which for part of me is just like, no, go like do the stuff everywhere else. But at the same time, I get it. Like, I've totally been there where like sometimes there's just a lot of things going on in the gym and you just want to like post up like somewhere else and do some things. So there's totally a lot of stuff you can learn just either from online resources, or not to promote my industry, but to kind of, it's like, there's a lot of great stuff you can learn from trainers, and you'll build a lot of like confidence from like 5 sessions with a trainer. You know what I mean? You don't have to commit forever or pay out of your butt
Yes,
for too
yeah.
much. But it's a worthwhile investment, especially because a lot of us like come from backgrounds where we sit for work all day, and you're going to want somebody to teach you the mechanics and assess your mechanics as well. So,
Gotcha.
but
So
yeah, sorry.
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, but about the cardio thing is what we don't realize is that a lot of us females nowadays, especially, we have really stressful jobs. So I actually move a lot of my clients away from too much cardio, because by the mechanism at which we create energy with ATP, we access cortisol, and we already have a lot of cortisol from our job, from our kids, from whatever reason. And that's the big mistake, is that we get all these females like running real hard on the elliptical, and I'm like, yo, you already have a lot of cortisol, you don't need to bring more into the picture, you know what I mean? So that I would advise to be like, let's just go on a walk, like go on a stroll, like low intensity steady state. Don't go like balls to the wall, don't do Orange Theory probably, you know. Like,
so when they're doing Orange Theory and they're doing like all of this cardio and stuff, I think you had mentioned, because I was listening in on some of your, yeah, that you've posted on IG and stuff. It like I'm hungry all the time anyway. So that feeds into that hungry habits type of thing, to where it's just like, okay, so it's the new year. I'm getting into this program. I'm getting fit. And now, like you said, the culinary comes into it as well, where you're just like, okay, now I'm super hungry. And now what do I feed my body?
yeah. Yeah. So it's as probably annoying as it might sound for some people, protein, always start with the protein, because it's the most it's a nutrient that literally cannot turn to fat as fast as a lot of tabloids like to say. They say you can overeat protein too. Not often. It's a really dense nutrient, and it's all amino acids. So it doesn't become body fat the way that fats do and carbs can, because carbs are glycogen, sugar, etc., energy. So when you get hungry, you want to start with a good quality protein. And at least, like for females, I usually recommend 20 to 35 grams per meal. And ultimately, I think almost across the board, if you're not hitting 100 grams of protein and you're working on a fitness goal, you're not going to be able to see the results, and you're not going to replenish your muscle that is asking to be replenished, because you just tore it up when you're trying to like exercise hard or whatever.
And yeah, just shredding all that. That's one of probably the single most difficult thing that I have in my regimen, is getting enough protein. I have never, my entire life, just have never been able to intake that much protein. So I have to, I mean, I know my folks back in the day when they were working with me, they're like, what, the chickens have hatched in the break room, because I was like, there would be half a dozen eggs in there. And I'm like,
yeah, just
trying to get it all in, because I mean, I'm not a huge meat eater, so it becomes super difficult for me. So those are some, I guess, hurdles that I know that I have personally have to get through with my fitness regimen, and me trying to get to a maintenance stage, or a loss stage, or whatever I'm working on at the time. But as we're rolling into a new year, what's trending in the fitness world?
Yeah, so
it's
like
not faddish, but trending.
trending, yeah, trending. I mean, trending would still be, I would say, I see a lot of the like the HIIT style classes. There's still variations of it, like F45, CrossFit versions, anything that 24-hour fitness puts together. They sometimes have their own little HIIT groups. I don't know what they always call them. Sometimes body pump is a common one that a lot of people see. And I personally, like, they're great, especially if you have like a moderate level of fitness and you're like a background in it. I would again kind of recommend that, even though it's not always, I guess it's not always accessible to everybody to pay for a trainer, but if they can find something where they can build foundation or have something to pair with those HIIT classes that's working their muscles in a not speed oriented way, that would be my best tip for a lot of people who are going for that. And again, if you're somebody who's really stressed, and I know a lot of people like to show up to Orange Theory and that stuff to just show up, get a sweat, feel like they did a good workout and leave. They also love the community. I totally get why people love those groups. It's just how frequently do you do it is what I usually ask people. So like I would only keep it to like maybe 2 or 3 times a week. If you're a super stressed person, maybe just 1 time a week, honestly, just to prevent injury and overtraining and all that kind of stuff. But that would be a huge trend I keep seeing going, especially since we've reopened and everybody's trying to get back into that community. So I don't like to like talk crap about those groups, just even though like from a programming perspective, I'm just like, what are they doing? It's all like cardio and, too fast with the weights and not heavy enough, but it can be a good workout for like general population. Still, you just got to be aware of what you're getting when you go there. I wouldn't say you're going to get the body of your dreams going to a HIIT class or something like that, because it's just not specific enough to you. You know what I mean? I would say that's a huge trend I'm seeing. I do see a lot of trends towards certain things like plant-based movements or different, what's the other one? Oh, I recently have seen a lot about like coffee being super bad for you in the morning. Have you seen that?
No, but I can't live without my coffee, so I don't even know how that even works.
Yeah, and you don't have to live with it. Yeah, the quickest answer I'll say is that we underestimate the fact that you actually need to be hitting like 200 milligrams of caffeine in that morning hour right after you wake up for it to affect your cortisol, because that's the claim that they're making, is that your morning coffee on an empty stomach is messing up your cortisol. Most coffee, like a single cup of coffee, like a mug, is 50 to 75 milligrams of coffee or caffeine. So like it's not actually a big deal. So
Gotcha.
it's just one of those tabloids. So if anybody who's listening sees that, now you know that like you have to be slamming like a really tall, venti black coffee. And that's really hard for most people to do. Maybe easy for some, who knows? But
Yeah, like water, chugging that. No, I like to enjoy my coffee, and I do need it to function. It's my me time. So that's a big thing for me. So back to plant-based. Because I just made the statement that it's super difficult for me to ingest as much protein as I can, and I'm not a big meat eater, and I try to get it through my meat products. For somebody who is just doing plant-based, how are they getting their protein, or how are they able to get enough protein throughout the day?
Yes. So I actually had been seeing, probably back in 2018 is when I did this. I usually test out every single diet for myself just so I can learn better and have a more rounded perspective. And I did vegan for about 3 months in 2018 or so. It was around that What the Health time when that came out, because I was really like skeptical, but I was like, I'm always open to changing my mind. So I looked into it. We tried it. Man, the fiber intake out of nowhere is something else. My boyfriend at the time, I was like, I don't even know. I'm like, is it worth it? But so usually where a lot of people get a lot of benefits from going plant-based is the fact that they actually just have to eat more fiber initially. There is junk food vegan. That is a thing where they just eat fries and stuff because those are technically vegan. So I would absolutely not recommend anything on the junk food vegan side or plant-based side. As far as when you're going for full plant-based, you're getting more fiber. So a lot of people do end up getting like better gut health because of that. Sometimes the opposite. Sometimes it's way too much fiber, because like you said, to get enough protein, like you need like a cup and a half of lentils. It's already hard to eat like a 2/3 cup of lentils sometimes. Like it's a lot of volume. And that was the hardest thing, especially because my boyfriend at the time, who was also the trainer, he was eating what his caloric requirements were, which was 3,200 calories a day in plant-based foods. That was really hard on his gut. It was a lot of food, like bowls of quinoa and stuff. Like it was so much just to hit his protein requirement. So it's not necessarily about you can't build muscle or maintain muscle plant-based, because you absolutely can. You just have to mix different foods to complete the amino acid complex, because that's the problem with plant-based, is it's harder to achieve that, because an animal protein is a complete protein. It has all the 17 amino acids that are necessary. Plant-based, sometimes certain items like brown rice only has like 4, something like that. And then you have to combine legumes with brown rice and maybe lentils and a vegetable to like get a complete protein. And then how much of your gut is actually absorbing it at the time is the other variable that's hard. Whereas animal proteins, you have a higher efficiency rate with like potential of absorbing all those nutrients. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh, no, that makes complete sense. No, I get that, but it's just, again, so, because I struggle, again, I struggle with getting enough protein into my system and my body. So I'm throwing that out there. I have a lot of folks that are vegan that just do plant-based, and I'm like, well, how do you guys get enough protein out of the day? And then you're working out too. It's a lot, but I appreciate you taking the time out to talk with us about fitness and about your practice and everything that you're doing. So is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would just say that if anybody is kind of not certain about their like how they want to approach the new year or any of their goals, I actually do have a brand new podcast that I launched on January 1st. It's Rebel Wellness Podcast. You can find it on pretty much anywhere you stream podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and all that. And the first episode is specifically about like New Year's goals, but coming at it from like a holistic sense and like asking some questions that we don't usually think about. A lot of my clients and listeners have responded like really well to that episode. So I've been really excited about that because I was like, I don't know like how people are gonna see that, you know. So but if you want to watch or listen to that, it's there. And you can also find me. Do you want me to share
yeah, so how can people get in touch with you if they do want to sign up and say, hey, I'd love to get in on a program with you?
So I can be found at Coach by Kailes. That is my main profile. That's the business profile I've built over the decade. And you can also email me at hello@kayleeloren.com. Could probably add it in there because my name is hard to spell, thanks to my parents. And yeah, I know, right? All of us partial Asians.
Yes.
But what was the other thing? Oh, and then you can also find it at either rebelwellness.me for the contact on there or coachbykailes.com. Those are the best places to reach out.
Awesome. We'll make sure we put it in the feed and get all of your information so that folks that do want to reach out to you can and get their fitness, wellness goals in place for 2023. But thank you again so much. Like I like to do with all of my guests before you leave us is do a just for fun speed round. Are you ready?
Gosh, okay.
All right. Your biggest inspiration?
Biggest inspiration would probably be my grandmother because she was a really like confident woman and she kind of didn't take any crap. Don't know if I can say any words on here from anybody. And she just taught me to like stand in my own power and make a difference. And so definitely my biggest inspiration.
Awesome. So what's your favorite cheat food?
Cheat food. Well, I don't think it's cheating because I would say rice. I am a person who just loves white rice.
No, that's a thing. No, that's a thing because people are like keto, keto, keto. And I'm like, oh, white rice.
Yeah. I mean, I even tried keto on myself to learn it as well before I coached on it. And I was just like, oh, I can't wait for rice again.
Exactly. So pre-workout supplement, post-workout supplement, both or neither?
I like pre-workouts for heavy leg days. I actually made the mistake when I was younger of doing pre-workout for every workout, and then I was overtraining because it kind of gave me artificial energy. So I would recommend, for most people, like especially like a cleaner version, like doesn't have a ton of ingredients, third-party tested, and I do use it for like leg days because I need that extra power and I like the pump.
Gotcha.
But
yeah.
Post-workout, I just like any carbs and protein, like shakes, protein shakes, whatever, things
Perfect.
like that.
I think we talked about this, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there just in case somebody's coming back in and didn't get it the first time. Do you re-rack your weights?
Yes, absolutely. Especially being a trainer in a fitness facility for so long, like, I can't not re-rack. I'm re-racking weights like constantly. Yeah. And sometimes I reorganize them. I'm like, this is wrong.
Okay, so it's not me. It's not just me.
Oh, yeah.
So I was in Panama and I was like, wait, 5, 15, what is going on here? So I was like 5, 10, 15. Yeah. No, I did the same thing. That's the OCD.
Yeah. Just kind of like type A, like it's got to be right. Like I got to help the people out.
Oh my gosh. Too funny. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. And for everybody else, you guys have a safe and amazing weekend. Cheers, you guys. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you.